live on your tablet, phone, and the KUTV app. This is 2 News Live.
Thanks for joining us on 2 News Live. I'm Brian Schnee. It is Wednesday, August 23rd. It's a big night, especially in the political realm. We're going in depth tonight on the first GOP presidential debate. It's a beginning evening for what could be a very interesting cycle as we prepare for the presidential race getting underway from Milwaukee tonight, 7 o'clock our time. Before we get there, though, let's take a look at the headlines that you can find on our website right now, KUTV.com. One person is dead after a plane crash near the South Valley Regional Airport. Emergency officials started getting notified about this crash around noon. They had a road blocked off shortly after that. The FAA and the NTSB are assisting with this investigation. Detectives in Weber County, specifically Roy Police, were out searching a remote mountain area today in connection to a cold case dating back to 1985. We're confirming with Roy PD that crews actually found nothing. They were digging in an area near Causey Reservoir. This was all connected to the disappearance of Sherry Warren from 1985. Salt Lake City police looking for a suspect after an overnight shooting in Rose Park. Police say it happened at a fight, near a fight, 9th West, 1000 North. One person was taken to the hospital. Also in your headlines tonight, leaders in Sandy are holding a meeting this evening to discuss a proposal for opening a homeless shelter within the city. The shelter would serve the unhoused with medically vulnerable conditions. As we go in depth tonight, you can always get in touch with us during the show. Use the hashtag 2NewsLive to join our conversation. You can always find us on Facebook, Twitter, and Instagram. You can send us a direct message, any of those locations to weigh in. Well, it's about that time. Chief Meteorologist Sterling Paulson here, waltzing on in another day with some more activity on the radar. Thanks for being here.
Yeah, not as much as we had yesterday, Brian, but we do have some showers and storms, especially across southwestern Utah this afternoon. But the interesting thing is we're going to see a ton of moisture moving into southeastern Utah overnight tonight. We'll talk more about that as we move into the forecast. So let's get to it because there's so much to talk about today in this amazing show. There's the satellite or the radar pictures you can see across the state with scattered storms, widely scattered, but the big concentration here and a lot of moisture moving up from Arizona into southern Utah right now. So that's why we're seeing these scattered showers and storms. There's been some ponding and flooding and minor flooding on some of the dry washes and roadways across the south Washington County area, especially around Sand Hollow reservoirs, Hurricane, Laverton, Quail Lake, all of these areas. So Anderson Junction, you're next in line for this storm system as it continues to move north. But Hurricane at 536, Laverton 540, Cedar City 703 as it moves north, and then 719 in Enoch. So we're going to track this storm as long as it holds together and let you know where it's headed. But for right now, we do have a flood advisory in effect until 8:15 p.m. for portions of Washington County, including the Sand Hollow, Quail Lake areas where that storm has been most predominant over the last 30 minutes or so. Here's what we're expecting later tonight. That storm dies out. We still have some storms that are to the west of the Great Salt Lake later tonight about 9 p.m. and those continue to move off. But notice the moisture moving into southeastern Utah as the remnants from Tropical Storm Harold make their way into the state. And they'll continue to increase the rain shower activity. This is 6 a.m. tomorrow morning from Blanding, Monticello, Moab, and Grand Junction is in that moisture as well, but we'll see possibility of some small stream and urban flooding as this moisture continues to increase. This is at 8 a.m. tomorrow morning, still some heavier showers continuing, possibly Price getting involved in some of that, but mainly I think it will be cloud cover. Zion National Park, 83, Capitol Reef in the 60s tomorrow, 62 at Bryce Canyon, and Arches and Canyonline 83, Zion National Park 84, with mostly cloudy skies and a chance of those showers until later tomorrow evening. So Friday, the pool forecast, 87 on Friday, 91 on Saturday. This is along the Wasatch Front, 92 on Sunday. We're going to see a pretty good warming trend over the next several days, back to very summer-like conditions. Here's your forecast, 90 to 95 on Friday in St. George. The showers go away, and through the weekend it will be dry. Lots of sunshine for you. Temperatures triple digits as we move into the rest of the weekend and into the first part of next week. Those overnight lows in the 70s. And for Salt Lake City, we'll see those high temperatures in the 80s, then the 90s, and we'll keep it in the 90s. In fact, how about 96 on Tuesday? Whew, kids are going to be toasty in those classrooms as we move into the first part of next week.
Is it rude to say, how about not? Like, I think I'm good with what we've had here.
Yeah, we've been spoiled a little bit. So.
I'm all good with the change. So when the kids are going back to school, to me, that is always like, all right, fall is here. Temperatures are moving in the right direction. We should be looking forward to that. I think this is really interesting here, what we've kind of seen over the last few months. The monsoon has been really intriguing in southern central Utah, coming off of obviously an extremely wet winter. How beneficial is this for us in the long run?
It's fantastic because it does keep that soil moisture up. And if the soil moisture is up when we get things frozen in the wintertime, there's a lot of moisture locked in there. And that means that the snow that we get is going to be beneficial next year too. So hopefully we'll have another good snow year.
Definitely don't mean to put you on the spot though, but thinking about our fire weather potential has been very, very mild this year. Since I've moved here, this has been the most mellow fire season, which is a beautiful thing for so many, but this could change.
That could turn it around a little bit.
Okay.
We'll watch it.
Yeah.
If we stay in the 90s and through in the month of September and things start to dry out a little bit, there could be some increase, but I still think we're going to be better than we would be.
A fire season is still a loose term. It can happen at any point of the year.
Through October, by the way.
Oh, that's right.
Yeah.
Of course they will. I mean, it depends on obviously how things shape up here and if things are continuing to dry out.
Yep.
Sterling, thank you. As always, if you'd like to get in touch with us and learn more about your forecast, you can easily get all of that on the 2 News Weather app. Hey, let's turn to our in-depth topic tonight. All eyes on the GOP presidential hopefuls who will take the stage in Milwaukee for their first debate. We've got them all on your screen there. You may notice there is a picture of someone missing, perhaps, when you think of the GOP. Donald Trump will not be there. Instead of debating, he released a pre-tape interview with former Fox News host Tucker Carlson. That is not going to be on one of the Fox platforms, obviously, because they are hosting the debate. You can find that on the social media platform X, also known to many of us still as Twitter. Today, we've also confirmed one of the candidates, Doug Burgum, will be at the debate. This was after injuring himself playing basketball on Wednesday, which is what, today? So earlier today, playing some pickup hoops. Hey, let's take a live look, Milwaukee, Wisconsin right now. Taking a look, obviously, at all of the lights and the media setup there. There's a lot of expectation, conversation. What will happen tonight? How much will focus on Donald Trump with him not being there? There's lots of questions about what takes the shape on the stage this evening, who maybe has a breakout moment of sorts there in Wisconsin, who can get some of those extra dollars to come in for donors, who can get a little bit more recognition in the United States of America when it comes to the GOP. It'll be very interesting. Everything goes down in about an hour and 20 minutes here Mountain Time, 7 o'clock. More than a half dozen Republicans who are trying to knock Donald Trump from the party's top spot in the race for the White House will indeed take that stage tonight. Very first presidential debate for the GOP. Trump not attending. So this could open the door for another candidate to stroll through and change the tone of the race. Our chief political correspondent, Scott Thuman, is in Milwaukee tonight and has the very latest.
Well, it's not the entire field here tonight, but a large chunk of it, and they'll be trying to find those breakout moments, something to separate themselves from the rest of the pack, earn some chatter, and more importantly, some donors and supporters. But pundits will tell you that at least for now, this is a race for second place. The matchup in Milwaukee certain to catapult the presidential race to a new level, but some of the spectacle missing, with Donald Trump choosing not to attend. Pointing to a new poll showing most Republicans, 74%, say they would support him in a general election. Trump's surrogate, Carrie Lake, says there's no need for Trump to take part.
Real Clear Politics shows him up 40 points. This is almost an unheard of advantage. He's already done the job. He's proven himself.
At the same time, never seen someone indicted 4 times. How much does that play into it?
Actually, I've noticed that every time he's indicted, his poll numbers go up.
Meanwhile, many see it as a better chance to introduce themselves. An opportunity, says former Arkansas Governor Asa Hutchinson. But the one-time U.S. attorney also wants to hold Trump, there or not, accountable.
I'm convinced we can't win with Donald Trump, and that's the whole purpose of this debate is who's the right alternative that can lead our party.
A sentiment sure to be echoed by another former prosecutor, Chris Christie.
The American people want to see is, what's your plan for the future? Are you strong enough to be able to implement them?
All the expected fighting, though, is also a worry for the party, aware in the end they'll have to coalesce or risk the White House.
We recognize that Democrats, time and time again, they have their disagreements behind closed doors, but they come together, they unite, and they win. And so as a Republican Party, I think next year we're looking forward, hopefully better than ever before, coming together.
One of the big questions is just how much attention will the candidates really get out of this debate? Keep in mind, Trump is trying to drive viewers to watch his interview tonight instead, and then tomorrow he turns himself into Atlanta authorities for an arrest. Again, all of that drawing focus away from this debate. In Milwaukee, Wisconsin, I'm Scott Thuman.
From one pro to another here, Heidi Hatch joining us on 2 News Live, looking at what is happening in Milwaukee tonight. It's a big night, of course, in the political realm when we look at who very well could be our next president. It seems unlikely, obviously, given who the front runner is, but there are some people that could earn some brownie points tonight.
It's true, and while we know that former President Donald Trump is the front runner and that Biden is likely the nominee of his party, we're also a long ways out. And a lot can happen in a year, especially with all the craziness happening right now. So I think a lot of people will be watching the debate tonight, but there's a lot of people who will also be waiting to see the highlights afterwards. We're barely into back to school when families have a lot going on, and so they'll be watching to see, what rises and who rises to the top at the end of tonight's 2-hour debate. Not everyone has 2 hours in August to sit down. People will get more serious in a couple months. But as we've been talking about, I really think this is going to be an opportunity for people who are not former President Donald Trump to shine, maybe talk about issues they want to, because otherwise, if he were in the room, he sucks up a lot of the oxygen, right, and controls the conversation.
Well, you talk about if he were to be in the room and him being the topic of the conversation, there's still a very real chance that he could still end up the topic of conversation tonight. He
really could be, and I hope as a viewer myself that it doesn't end up that way, because there's so many serious issues that I think people want discussed. And while former President Donald Trump, certainly is going to be a part of the conversation, I hope it doesn't revolve around him, because there is gas prices, inflation, energy, the war in Ukraine, the U.S. border in Mexico. We have so many issues that really need to be talked about on a serious level that I hope they take the time to do it. It's hard when there's 8 people, but I hope they take that chance that they have tonight.
A lot of names still out there. Of course, many will fall off after this or shortly after this at some point once they realize they can't keep the money up or they can't see themselves getting the votes. Is there anyone that you think out of those candidates would benefit coming to Utah?
Interesting.
I know that's a real theoretical sort of toss because obviously Donald Trump does very well here.
He does. And, I think any of them would be when they came, when you saw former Governor Ron DeSantis, he's not former, Florida Governor Ron DeSantis, when he was in Utah, had a lot of people listening when he was at the GOP convention. But even then, a lot of people there were saying, Trump's still my favorite. I like listening to him. I like what he has to offer, but maybe it's not his turn. But I think that a lot of people would be willing to listen to any of them. Former Vice President Mike Pence gathered a large crowd when he was here. I really think that there's a good conversation that can go on with a lot of these people. And like we said, a year is a long time away. I think Ramaswamy is getting a lot of attention right now, a smart young billionaire who wouldn't like to hear someone like that talk. Chris Christie is super energetic. I don't know that he's going to end up at the top of this race, but he is definitely one to be watching this race. Some of the people like Nikki Haley who've been in longer, interestingly enough, haven't quite found their stride yet. So tonight could be the night. Could be a breakout moment for Nikki Haley or someone else that you've also mentioned too, because this time on stage without Mr. Trump present could really help somebody. Heidi Hatch with us here on 2 News Live. It's great to have you here. I think it's interesting because of how everything is going to shake out with Mr. Trump's interview with Tucker Carlson also being released around the same time on a very controversial platform at times itself, being Twitter with its rebrand and everything. Yeah. So what will get more attention tonight? I know one is more your linear broadcast, live streaming sort of feel. Something is pre-recorded when you look at what Donald Trump has said. Where will people go? I'm interested to see exactly where that falls as well. But the good news is with the internet these days, you don't have to pick one or the other. You can go watch the debate live if you want, go watch the highlights because people are always clipping them down, watch former President Donald Trump. So yeah, who wins in the streaming process? That's going to be the big question. But ultimately, I think we're all going to get a little snippet and the highlights of both. So. What are you hopeful for tonight? I'm hopeful for a good conversation. Like I said, I really hope the conversation doesn't all revolve around Trump, because there are so many important issues to Utah families, to families across the country that have real things that are affecting their lives right now, where they want answers. They want to see what direction we're heading the country. And I think talking personalities doesn't get us anywhere. Talking issues is really where it's at. So that's what I'd like to see. Real meat.
We're hoping that our moderators can keep everyone on task and keep everyone focused on those real issues. It'll be interesting to see how things unfold tonight.
Yes, and with 8 people, getting screen time is going to be the real trick for all of them.
Of course, yes. We're going to do the old TV trick with 8 boxes, right? I mean, everyone's going to get a little time tonight. Heidi, thank you. Meanwhile, Utah Senator Mitt Romney is also weighing in on tonight's debate. He was speaking at a UDOT event in Sandy today. We asked him about his thoughts. Take a listen to what he had to say.
May the best man or woman win. I think it's unfortunate that President Trump won't be there. I'm sure the people that are on the stage will remind the viewers that he's not there. It's a chance for people to get a sense of the different people who want to potentially run for president of the United States. And I think it's likely that 1 or 2 will stand out. There's usually a moment or 2 in a debate that is highlighted in the reels afterwards, and I think you'll see a couple of people stand forward. I hope at some point the field consolidates. You can't have 8 people all running against 1. At some point it needs to get down to a 1-on-1 race, but I don't know who that one person will be. I'm not going to endorse anybody. That would be the kiss of death. But I sure hope we get it narrowed down.
Mitt Romney obviously very cautious with his own plans for the future and a potential endorsement from the GOP. We want to know how you're feeling about this. How much of today's first GOP 2024 presidential debate will you actually consume? How much will you watch? 46% of you saying, I'm not watching any politics. Only about 17% of you saying, I'm going to watch Donald Trump on Tucker Carlson's show. And then some of you kind of weighing in between the full debate and mixing and matching. Of course, as you know, we will have some coverage tonight after the debate on 2 News at 10 o'clock. So if you'd like to see how things shake out and you don't want to stomach the whole thing, if it's not your cup of tea, we'll give you the highlights tonight and the greatest hits of what took place there on stage tonight. Well,